The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Saban Entertainment, and Tsuburaya Productions.
Hello, everybody! We're back to old angle. Weird.
Temporarily.
Yeah,
Maybe.
we're trying some things again.
We're trying some things out.
In other words, we're trying to just block out these windows.
Yes,
Yeah.
the glare is really true. But yes, episode 44, back to Kamen Rider, with Kamen Rider Hibiki.
Yeah, finally.
An entire month of Super Sentai. I enjoyed it.
I didn't.
It's just nice to be back to this.
It did help me catch back up on the currently airing Sentai, because
Yes.
I didn't have to watch a new show every 2 weeks.
Speaking of which, we should end up getting the actual suit revealed in like 2 weeks.
We already have the rumor one. No, there was a rumor link.
Yeah, I've heard the rumor, but I'm looking forward to the actual suits because the stage show's in a few weeks.
Oh, fair enough.
So,
but anyway, we
yes.
digress. The return of Rumor Cast may be coming back, but let's see.
Yeah,
But we are here with Kamen Rider Hibiki, and
Yes.
there is not enough alcohol.
for the second half of this.
Half?
The last 18 episodes.
There you go.
But yeah, Kamen Rider Hibiki.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off where we usually do with this opening. I love the first one.
I love the first opening.
Go back to our, top 10 Kamen Rider openings.
It was our top 5 best and worst.
Our top 5
Which I would like to redo at some point and
Yeah.
actually do a full 10 best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love the first one. Like, if you go and listen to the full song, it has basically like the same backing track, but the lead, it has like vocals,
Mhm.
a guitar,
Mhm.
like a whistle, and like everything over it.
One of the things I really want to applaud this show on is its overall score.
Yes.
It does not sound like any other show we have watched thus far.
No, that was the
lot
thing.
of traditional Japanese instruments.
Yes. It is extremely
And a lot of
Japanese.
percussion.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of percussion.
That's the thing about Hibiki. It wanted to be different than the other Kamen Riders before. It did not want to follow that same formula.
Well, that's because it originally wasn't going to be one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nope.
Oh.
It wasn't going to be a Kamen Rider originally. It was actually going to be another show where they were going to bring something else back in. And then they were just like, and then they just decided to make it a Kamen Rider because Toei wanted it to be.
Sho Seishin Grand Caesar.
No, that's the
Was
show that it was actually going up against.
that was what Blade was going up against.
Yeah.
Blade didn't sell very well, so they thought, let's stop doing Kamen Rider for a bit. Let's maybe change it up a little. Enshin Ninja Arashi Josho Shikigami Shishahen. Something like that.
Yeah.
It's a toku that predates Super Sentai.
It was one of the ones that Arashi also made.
This
I mean,
long.
that Ishinomori also made.
Yes.
Ah.
So they were just like, hey, we're
And it's interesting how the first episode opens in accordance with Shotaro Ishinomori's wishes.
Yes.
Oh,
It
yeah.
opens up with song.
Yes.
The second time around, not as terrible.
I love
No, I actually love the way
I
this
love
first
it.
episode
I
opens.
just wasn't expecting it.
I
back
wasn't
in
expecting
college.
it either, but the fact that it's like rapid editing and just lots of music, and then eventually we build up to this great musical number where everyone's on their bikes riding down the street. I was like,
it was so
This-
Disney, and I was in love with it.
Here's the other issue. This was like the third Kamen Rider you showed me.
Oh, yeah.
It was like Kabuto.
Because
W,
I hadn't watched it yet.
It was like
Oh.
Kabuto,
So, yeah.
W, and then this. So I only had Kabuto and W to go off on, and I saw this. I'm like, this isn't Kamen Rider. What the fuck is
It
this?
just felt
this is
so
not
good.
my Kamen Rider.
Yeah, I had a Bakugaijin moment.
Well, it's because of the fact that this show
I was young and stuff.
has a focus. And
It
that
does.
focus is on sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. Because
No,
that
it's
theme
great.
is so just there throughout the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like at the beginning, we end up seeing all these random things like that make noises, and then it like comes together like the song of the community.
Yep.
And I'm just like, this is the best thing ever.
It's great.
It's so good. It felt so Disney.
I would put it
And
up there with Kamen Rider Black as one of the best openings to a first episode ever.
Yeah, because it works for the actual theme of this show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's get into the first episode where we end up meeting basically our main character
Isn't the
Kamen
Kamen
Rise
Rider.
of the Rider.
His name is Asumu
Asumu
Adachi, and they're going. He and his mother are on a ferry on their way to Yahoo Island for a family reunion.
Mm-hmm.
And on that boat ride, Asumu is running into a man named Hibiki.
There are trees in the show. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second because I know exactly where you want to go, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And a child is a child and wants to, hey, look at the dolphins. And so the child almost falls off. Hibiki ends up saving the child, and then he sneezes, and that's Hibiki. I love Hibiki. Hibiki is a great character.
Mm-hmm.
And they end up going.
The oldest actor to play a Kamen Rider from the start of the show. He was 33 when he was cast.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And we saw him not too long ago when they were promoting the last Batribe War game. He, the original Kamen Rider, of course, and Ghost were promoting Genesis.
Oh.
And it was random because you never expect Hibiki. because you gotta remember it. Because
no one ever expects
Hibiki.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Known as Hibiki.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys
Sorry.
like
or what was Helsing Ultimate Abridged? The Mexican Inquisition. They expected us. They expected all of us.
yeah, it's just like you. Because remember, we were talking about this beforehand.
Yeah.
Because of the way this show was going, you never expected Hibiki to show back up, and you wouldn't blame him like at all.
Nope.
But yeah, so Asumu ends up going to the fan reunion, and then he basically just wants
He's
to
bored.
get out.
He wants to get out, and his mom is like, "I'm bored too. Let's
No,
go."
his cousin.
Oh,
It's
that
his
was his cousin.
And then they end up going out. They end up meeting Hibiki again, and then they end up getting attacked by these two beings, the Hime and the Doji, who play every single monster up to episode 30 in this show. And I love that.
Should we just have that as a disclaimer on the screen?
It's just going to pop up
Every time we say something positive, I want you to fill in the rest of it in the blank with your heads up to episode 30.
It's true. Yeah,
Let's practice it. This show is great.
Up to episode 30.
Thank you for these lovely cornflakes.
Up to episode 30.
These characters are really developed and really serious.
Up to episode 30.
Thank you. Okay. I think we got it.
But I love the fact
God.
that the Doji and the Hime are like literally in every episode. And they technically end up playing different characters every single time. And the Doji ends up having a woman's voice. The Hime ends up having a man's voice. And I just think that's great because Shima. So
I thought that's where you were going.
It always goes back to fucking Change Man and Shima.
it's okay.
I know.
And the monsters of this one are called Makamo.
Mm-hmm.
And they're great. I love
Still
the way
better
they're
than
done.
Tube.
Yeah, it's true.
Everything is better than Tube.
And Hibiki ends up transforming for the first time in the first episode. Let's talk about that.
Can we talk? Yes. First of all, not a belt. It's a tuning fork. Love it.
Yeah. And there's no henshin.
There's no henshin.
No one in this show ever yells anything before they transform. It's just
except in the movie, but that's something we'll talk about next week.
Yes.
And that is such a delightful change of pace from now that I'm rewatching it and have much more experience in Kamen Rider under my belt than two shows. I so enjoy that, and I enjoyed the tuning fork before because it was just interesting.
Different.
It was new.
It was very different, and then we see this suit. I love this suit.
This suit is made from a different material.
So much.
Is it really?
I can't remember what the name of the actual material of the suit is, but it's different from basically any other suit.
It does look different
because it's so shiny.
I love this suit. I love the fact that it has no face. I love the fact that it bleeds, and I'm using that term very specifically to the red on the gauntlets and gloves. Like he has...
Well, no, it just bleeds in general.
I mean, I'm just talking about... It's just a drastic change of color from the purple to the red. And honestly, it just reminds me that I think he just beat someone to death beforehand.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah, it's so different. And I think that's the thing that just makes it so
And
cool.
also such a different weapon than we're used to seeing with Kamen Rider.
And
I love Nightwing, so this is just perfect for me.
The way that they end up beating the monster, like, they have a specific, set of rules that they end up having to beat the monster by.
Mm-hmm.
Up to episode
like
30.
a drum.
It's like they had to do it with
beat like a drum.
Well, yeah, but
that's what he has to do.
They had to do it with a pure sound. That's the only way to actually beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what ended up happening. Like, drum beats are a pure sound in the rules of the show. And I like the fact that they set up the rules of the show immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just...
Set up your lore, don't waste time on exposition.
Yeah, it just ends up happening. Now, they end up...
One thing I would like to bring up. We keep calling him Kamen Rider. Never once in the show is he ever referred to as Kamen Rider.
Yeah, but which is... I understand your point there, but there are other shows that have done that as well.
I know... I just think it's interesting, but they're not actually called Kamen Rider, they are Oni.
Yeah.
And normally when we think of Oni in Japanese culture, we think of them as bad guys. So to see the Oni as the good guys, especially with the way this costume looks, it's really cool.
Oh no,
it's nice to see that flip.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the monsters end up working is like they end up having the parent, the Hime and the Doji, and the gigantic one, which is usually going to be on CGI based in most.
There are a lot of big CGI monsters in this show.
But they work.
And they didn't look terrible half the time.
Yeah. I like the...
Considering it's a Japanese television show on like a 2005 budget, it's
with
fine.
2005 technology.
The 2005 technology, it's fine.
Yeah.
They look fine.
And I just love it. It's just like Hibiki, on their belts.
I think the only CGI in my opinion that was like the most kind of iffy for me was the CDs, the CD animals.
They were alright.
They had their moments, but there were just moments I'm just like...
You can tell that they're not there every single time they're on screen, but the designs are not bad.
I love the concept.
The CD animals are a big thing because they're basically employed by a group named Takashi, after Hongo Takashi. And they end up using these CD animals to actually, when they go out into the forest, which is where they're always at, up to episode 30.
Remember, they fill in the blank.
They fill in the blank. Trees exist. It's so nice to see actual trees.
The settings in this show are fucking amazing.
It's beautiful.
It is always so goddamn beautiful. And honestly, I am so glad we're getting that again this year in Q Ranger, because I'm seeing a lot of different types of locales than we're used to seeing. Because I just binged to catch up on that, and it is so refreshing to see not the same 7 places. I love the moment, and I know I'm going off track here, that they're transforming on a bridge and there's a drone shot, and it just looks great.
Not really a drone shot. They didn't have those back then.
No. I'm talking about
the
Q Q Ranger.
Okay.
There's a drone tracking shot while they're on a very small bridge.
Speaking of which, their transformations. So cool. I love it because they end up, at least for Hibiki, they do the tuning for it, and then you end up hearing lights come in off screen, at a weird angle, these voices just start coming up. Hibiki catches on fire,
he's summoning a demon.
That's basically what they're doing.
Hey, demons, it's me,
and
your boy.
Yeah, and he ends up being engulfed in purple fire.
Thanks,
and then the suit just happens. And I love it. I love the transformation sequence in this. And back to the CD animals, I love the fact that they use those basically as tracking beacons. They send them out into wherever they're at to go ahead and find.
I honestly think more Kamen Riders need to use that type of thing, because you got the soda can ones in O's, you've got the little ones in Wizard, you got this. Sometimes Forza had the McDonald's ones. So I feel like when they're done right, they are very useful.
And the way that this group ends up working is Takashi ends up having people basically be all over Japan to end up reporting into them to tell you hey, there's a Makomo here, please come out. You have to find them and fight them so they'll stop eating people. Which is basically what they do always.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think the first couple of episodes of the show where we end up getting to see Adachi trying to apply for high school. Which, that's just a Japanese thing. I will never get over that. I'm so used to it, but I'm still never going to get over that. The fact that you have to...
It's one of those differences.
...apply for high school like you had to do for college.
Which makes... Because that makes you think there are adults in Japan that never went to high school.
Yeah.
There are functioning members of society with only a middle school education. Weirdest thought.
Now, there is one thing that I do love to mention. Is when a Makomo ends up coming on or a new Oni is shown, they end up having the kanji flash onto the screen. Yeah. I love it. It's such a Japanese thing, and I just I'm so in love with this show. Okay.
I think we've established it at this point.
Yeah.
I think we've been establishing that for the last 2 years every time we bring it up in other videos.
Yeah. And in episode 3, because Asumu ends up getting attacked by the Makomo, Hibiki ends up defeating in episode 2. In episode 3, Hibiki ends up meeting Asumu's mother again, and Asumu's mother is really excited to meet him because she sees that her son has changed a lot ever since meeting Hibiki.
Because
I like his mother.
Yeah,
she's a really good actress.
Yeah,
I like her.
She's a good actress. 2, she's a good mom.
Yeah,
she really wants to look out for her son.
None of the characters are really bad in this show.
But yeah, she just I really want you to hang out with my son and everything because 1, I'm a single mother who drives a taxi, so I'm away a lot.
And my son needs a father figure.
Yeah, he needs a father figure because he doesn't have one in his life.
And Hibiki seems to be a good dude.
Yeah, Hibiki's a nice guy.
He is.
It's just that's one of the best things.
This kind of shit would not fly in America. Mom, I met this old guy in the woods, and he's making me a better person. Calling the police.
What do you mean, better person?
I'm an adult now. Oh, God.
But yeah, we also get to meet some of the side characters with Tachibana.
The Tachibana family.
Yes,
making an appearance again.
Who, and, the 2 daughters, and Hanako, and I am just terrible with names. I'm so bad with names.
You're better than me.
Hinaka and Kasumi. And they end up meeting Ichiro in a later episode. And there's also, Adachi's friend, not his girlfriend, who, Hitoe, who is also in the Kamen Rider, the next movie. She plays the younger sister who died.
Oh.
Yeah.
Has he gotten? Have we seen his bike yet? Because I don't remember.
No, that hasn't actually happened for a while.
Okay, because I know you're gonna want to talk about that.
Yeah, that bike is great. But yeah, it's good to see them have like an actual group of people that they end up relying on to do a lot more of the research, and they end up finding out ways to end up
like in Forza.
And it speaks to this bond between humans and monsters.
Yeah,
you have the Oni and the humans. Their contract together to fight the monsters. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
and not in a dark way like in Ryuki.
Yeah,
yeah.
In episode
throw that under there.
5. We end up getting to meet someone else, Iori Izumi. Now, I'm mentioning him here because Asumu's mother is technically the first one who actually ends up meeting him, at least for Asumu and that side of the people outside of the Oni family.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the fact that he just ends up rolling up on his bike, ends up calling Kasumi, and they have a thing. I love their little romance that ended up happening in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And
you loving a romance.
Yeah, it's weird. And in this episode,
he doesn't mind him when it's done right.
Yeah.
Or when it's done well.
When it's done right, I have no problem with it.
Well, you could say that about everything.
And we also end up hearing about some other Oni, in this case, Zanki, who got injured by one of the Makamo that he was fighting.
Mm-hmm.
This show has a lot more characters than you would expect. And I have a thing when we end up getting to the rant half of this episode that's going to being a thing.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah, we'll end up getting there when we get there.
I might duck and cover under the table.
Now, Iori's name, at least for the Oni, because the Oni end up taking on a different name when they actually end up becoming one.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, the Oni's name is Ibuki. And in episode 7, we actually end up getting to see him fight and transform for the first time. And the fact that he also ends up having a apprentice, Amami, who actually goes to the same school because Asumu did get into Jonan Academy is the name of the school. And they're supposed to go to it, but Amami's not there a lot. So later on in the show, he ends up giving her his notes and everything for the time that she's not there to make sure that she can pass because she's out there trying to become an Oni.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about one. Ibuki is based off of a trumpet, which is great. And the trumpet also ends up
trumpet gun.
Yes, it doubles as a gun. And his transformation...
This is Ruby now.
His transformation is a...
There's a trumpet gun.
Okay.
He ends up blowing into a whistle, and then wind ends up coming around him, and then he just cuts the hurricane in half. And I love his suit. I think his suit might honestly end up being my favorite out of like the main 3 that we end up getting in this one. I think it's just because of the face. The face starts off as a different color. Because it's, silver plated.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the gold, like tubing on it, and it's more blue. And blue is my favorite.
It is. It's like trumpet, like a trumpet is wrapped around him. It's kind of cool.
It is.
It just looks good to me.
I like how it.
I think I like Hibiki's more, but I do love this one as well.
It's a great suit. And I love his finisher where he ends up shooting like these red pellets into whatever Makamo he's fighting. Because the Oni end up having they're sort of separated in what instrument ends up working the best on a certain type of Makamo. And in this case, the trumpet ends up working, the best, of course, on flying enemies because it's a gun. And I love his finisher because he just ends up blowing like hell into the trumpet, and then the monster just blows up.
Mm-hmm.
It's so great. And his unarmed fighting style, he ends up using the wind as his fighting style, which is super cool.
Airbending.
And Hibiki ends up using fire. And later on, we end up getting some others. There's another Oni that ends up getting mentioned here, Sabaki, who's like one of those few Oni that ends up having like a double instrument that they'll play because he does the guitar and
the drums.
The drums. It's great. I love the fact that there are just a lot more Oni in this show than you would expect. This show has actually the most writers.
I believe it.
It has 30, including everything.
Yeah.
It beats Gaim by 3.
That has how many?
30.
30?
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
In episode 9, the Squirming...
If you include like movie and exclusives and like stage shows and whatnot.
Yeah.
It comes out to a lot.
In episode 9, Asumu ends up running into a shoplifter.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Sick.
And I love this episode mostly because it ends up doing a lot for Asumu's character development. Because he ends up seeing the shoplifter and he doesn't do anything. And I think that, especially in an episode later on, he ends up becoming really disillusioned at his own self and his own self-worth. because he felt like I should have done something. And the people at
bit of a Spider-Man moment.
Yeah, the people at Takashi, because it's also not really a confectionery shop. It's like people go eat there.
It's like a tea shop.
It's like a tea shop. And he ends up later on becoming a part-timer there.
Mm-hmm.
But, he ends up talking to the people about it. He talked to Hibiki, Midori, who's apparently the scientist who makes, like, most of the stuff for the Oni. And he's just like, I really felt useless in the situation. It's just like, we understand exactly where you're coming from. It's like, you don't really have, like, any training like Hibiki or Ibuki or like anybody else. You have to do what you can do. You're Asumu. You can't be everybody else. And that ends up being sort of the running theme for the rest of this show. Because I love the fact that, he's the main character because he's a kid, and we really end up growing with him the most in this show. And, he ends up getting advice and everything like that. And I think that was a good thing for Kamen Rider at the time. But, yeah, it's great. In a later episode, we finally end up getting to see Ibuki and Hibiki fight together. Speaking of which, I know that was an unintentional rhyme, but that's actually a reason in the show. Every Oni's name in the show ends up ending with a key. Mm-hmm. And in a later episode, Asumu's he's about to go to school and everything. He's like complaining of pain in his side. Yeah. And his appendix basically just goes. Yeah, it explodes in the middle of class.
Oh yeah.
So, but we end up getting to meet another character at the hospital that they end up taking him to. That is Hitomi's cousin, who I can't remember his name prior to him becoming an Oni, but his name post becoming an Oni is Toriyama. His name post becoming an Oni is Todoroki. And we don't end up actually getting to see him until 2 episodes later. We actually end up getting to meet his master, Zanki, who we mentioned earlier, who got sent into the hospital. We end up getting to meet the two of them. And I love their relationship. It's, it's like a much more grown version of Hibiki and Asumu between the two of them. And this is the one where
you get the sense of history.
Yeah.
Like he's been apprenticing him for a much longer time.
Yeah. In episode 14, this is also it's like the same set of episodes.
Right.
We end up getting to meet the Black Puppet, which is like a step above the Doji and Hime. He ends up making them. Mm-hmm. And later on, there's also some other steps above that we end up getting to meet. But in this one, the Black Puppet ends up giving the Doji basically like what looks like one of those prickly things that falls from the tree.
Yeah.
He ends up eating that. And it basically ends up driving the thing wild. And this one just ends up going out and just starts devouring other dojis and himes and things like that. And it was like such a tense episode because Hibiki couldn't beat him. Ibuki gets his ass kicked when he first tries to fight him. Yeah. And this thing can fly. Speaking of which, this thing, you end up fighting it in Batch Ride, and it's a fucking piece of shit. I hate this thing.
I don't remember fighting it, but
it's annoying. It's like you end up fighting the cat things in this.
I remember the cat things.
Those are also awful.
Yeah.
But I love it because it ends up having this sense of tension.
The cat things are annoying just because of the noise they make.
Oh
god, that was annoying.
But the tension in this episode, it does a really good job of actually amping it up because of the fact that you end up seeing this thing go out and devour monsters, the giant ones and everything, and it's just so good.
Giving me Ultraman flashbacks.
Yeah, it's so weird to actually end up seeing something like this though, because just people are just getting beat throughout this episode because they don't know how to deal with this thing.
Yep,
it's too strong, and I just love it. It's so great to actually see something that really is they end up beating it an episode later, but that's because they end up having.
Well, I mean, they have to. The show has to continue unless you want to make it a 15-episode show.
But
to see something that is this much of a threat, that is just able to just wreck everyone, you don't see that much.
At all. Mm-hmm. In episode 15, this is something that we haven't really talked about. The way that they end up beating the monsters, at least the dojis and the himes, they end up beating them pretty brutally. Ibuki would just shoot it to death. Hibiki will light it on fire. And in this case, in episode 15, we actually end up getting to see Zanki and Todoroki. Let's talk about their suit really quick. Not the biggest fan of theirs.
It's okay.
It's okay, but I don't know. Something about it I don't really
like.
Not
as bad as Toki.
Oh, no.
Nothing is as bad as Toki in the show.
It's just something about it I don't really like as much. I can't really explain completely as to why, but there's just something about it where I'm just it's an alright suit. I think it's just because of the fact that it has that one horn at the top. And Todoroki is silver, Zanki is bronze. And they're basically the same suit except for minor coloration changes and things like that. It's an alright suit though. And I love the fact that their weapon is guitar.
Yeah. Guitars and lightning.
Guitar spear thing.
Yeah, it's a guitar of lightning.
Mm-hmm.
And they use that lightning in their fighting.
Which is a perfect combination, if I might add.
Yeah, it's great. But there's also the thing where Zanki...
Brutal Legends. What was the game called?
Brutal Legends.
Yeah.
But Zanki is, he just got out of the hospital.
I think this is also... He has my favorite finisher in Hibiki.
Oh, the Raiden Gekishin! But yeah, Zanki just got out of the hospital.
Episode 30.
And that ends up basically showcasing almost immediately. Because when he's fighting, his leg gives out. So you end up, context clues. His leg was the thing that got injured majorly. And later on, the doctor says, the more you end up fighting on this thing, you're basically might end up losing your leg at the end of the day. So after this episode, he ends up retiring as an Oni. And I like that. It ends up being very...
And then he passes the torch to Todoroki, and we get this great celebration scene of him with his helmet off, in suit, just wailing on the guitar. Just so excited to go kill monsters.
Speaking of that...
It's great.
They end up basically, whenever they transform, they must spend a ton in their clothing budget. Because once they transform, their clothes are gone.
Because lightning destroys them.
Yeah, or lightning destroys them, fire destroys them, I guess a hurricane destroys Ibuki's. But it's also hilarious because the first time you end up seeing that happen to Todoroki, he doesn't do just his head. He ends up doing his entire body. Next thing you know, Zanki just looks down and is it just throws a coat on him.
It makes me wonder if there's people hiking in the woods finding just bits of clothing just scattered everywhere.
Just
what happened?
Somewhere.
Why is it scorched?
Yeah, it's a great scene because Todoroki ends up having
Was there a nudist bonfire around here somewhere?
Yes.
Todoroki ends up having some, I guess, self-esteem issues. When you first end up seeing him. Mm-hmm. He doesn't feel like he's doing everything the way that Zanki really wanted him to. And Zanki ends up becoming... He is retiring as an Oni, yes, but he ends up becoming sort of his helper as they're out in the field. Mm-hmm. And I there's that one scene where just Zanki's you have to do this your way. You can't do it like I did. So he ends up back gripping the guitar and using it back with a back grip instead of just a straightforward slasher and everything like that. He ends up using it like Ventus from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, for those of you who have played that game. And I love it.
Not me.
It's such a great thing to just actually end up seeing hey, grow by yourself, don't grow like me. Mm-hmm. And in episode 17, we actually end up going to the city for the first time because they end up spawning a Doji and a Hime there.
We're over halfway there.
There's a Doji and a Hime that end up getting
We've gone to the city several times because that's where the Tachibana family is located, but this is the first time a monster has ever been there.
Mostly they just end up spawning into the woods and or a mountain and or a lake.
Or the bank by a lake.
It's great. I just love seeing all these different scenes.
Because you know what it's not? A rock quarry.
You know what it's not? That same street and streets we've been seeing.
That same road that goes to the
time.
that same road that goes to the factory.
Yeah.
Although
same factory.
They do end up going to that factory. Well, you remember from the end of Fives where they end up having that place with all the columns?
Yeah.
They do end up going into there in this episode.
I mean, yeah, you see some,
but they don't use that area that often.
No.
So that's a great thing.
You do see some familiar looking locales, but not every other episode like we have been dealing with before.
Yeah. But before that, I swear, every time there was a fight scene, it's every scene looks different.
Yeah.
Every location really for almost every fight looks like it takes place in a different location.
Yeah.
Let's do that. You could be in the same spot. This will look different than this.
Yeah.
That's how the woods work.
And
it's wonderful.
Yeah. And there's also a thing that we're mentioning now. The monsters, when they end up cutting them or something like that, they spew out a whole bunch of liquid and burst into leaves.
It's the Samurai Jack thing where if they change it to a different color, you're changing the rating.
Yeah. And the monsters end up spitting out a lot.
And by that I mean not the last season of Samurai Jack because they gave no shits.
They really didn't. That's what you get for putting it on Adult Swim. But yeah, it's
first 4 seasons.
Hold on.
Time out.
What? What on what station? Because I heard Adult Swim.
Yeah, Adult Swim.
Okay. Yeah, you put an O in there for some reason.
ADLULT. Motherfucker.
And Sam Jackson's here now.
And back to this. But yeah, The monsters also end up spitting out a lot of stuff in this thing. Like acid. You end up seeing like the suits get severely damaged.
That's another thing you see a lot in this show is suit damage.
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen ever.
And what? What is this you speak of? They are impeccable and undestroyable.
And like
not anymore.
You're getting like to see Oni get stabbed, and like there's one part where Hibiki is like pinned to a tree with like a sword in his shoulder.
Oh, I remember that. Oh God!
And then he like apparently the Oni can heal themselves because that's exactly what happened. And
I'd buy it.
And they have claws like on their fists, like where they can extend like little mini claws out of there and just like stab the dojis in it, basically. Well, no, more like X-23.
Fair enough.
And who is now Wolverine. But they end up like using that to stab.
Wolverine.
They end up spitting. They end up spitting out fire.
Right.
They spit out fire. The Oni do.
Yes.
But I love that because
it looks cool when they do it.
They don't do it that often, which ends up making it like much more of a.
But when it happens, it still looks cool.
Yeah, and I love that.
Are you constipated?
No, I'm holding in the anger.
He's getting the.
So you're constipated.
Ready to go.
Just move on.
Now Todoroki and the other daughter Hina end up having sort of a thing. Although Todoroki's sort of oblivious, like completely in some cases because Hina really likes him, and that ends up being a great thing. Like I said, when a romance is done right...
So weird to hear from you.
When a romance is done right, it's fine.
Though, I still feel like there are cases where you would call a bad homosexual romance good because it's a homosexual romance and we don't ever see that.
Oh, no. If it's bad, it's fucking awful.
Okay. Making sure there's not a double-edged sword here.
Yeah. Now, as I said, basically, the Oni end up running... Like, they run off of a corporation. And so they end up getting like days off, and I love seeing like those little episodes where Hibiki gets a day off with. I'm just off today. With Hibiki is getting a day off with Asumu, and they end like going out and bonding and things like that.
Going on camping trips.
Yeah,
because we have to stay in the woods.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I know, but it's just funny. What are we gonna do for your day off of fighting monsters in the woods? We're gonna go camping in the woods.
Yes, let's go have fun. And in episode 21, this is the one where things start to get a little strange.
Would you prefer an episode where they just stayed around the house eating Cheetos?
You see, you say that.
Yeah, I do.
That is what I was doing before coming here.
No, I don't doubt that in the slightest.
But
specifically Cheetos.
You call that Saturday.
Yeah, true. In episode 21, we finally end up getting to see Ibuki and Todoroki fight together for the first time.
Yes.
Because... As I said, they end up using like these CD animals to basically just go and like actually find the monsters. Mm-hmm. So they're fighting on two sides of the same mountain. And so like apparently the monsters are coming towards each other because the Doji and the Hime are constantly running like towards the center of the mountain. The black pup is directing them there. The two monsters are end up coming there as well. They end up beating the Doji and the Hime, but the two monsters end up taking each other out. And the black pup is just like, okay, this is all I wanted. He ends up basically combining the two monsters into like this weird abomination thing that can fly with needles. It's terrifying.
Hold on. It can fly with needles. As in it uses needles to fly?
No.
Okay.
Like one monster was needles. I know. The other one could fly.
It was just the way that you phrase that. It flies with needles. Wait, what? How does that work?
It takes two needles and goes...
In this episode, this is also the first time we actually end up getting to see one of the apprentices get injured. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it's Amami who ends up getting hit by one of the needles of the Doji, and she basically ends up going down.
The Doji couldn't fly anymore because it lost its needle.
Shut up. And Ibuki and Todoroki, like, I love the fact that, as I said, because they end up using Takashi as like sort of the research station, they can send the sounds of the animals back, and they're just like, okay, it sounds like this one, but it also sounds like this one. What the hell is this? So they end up finding out that it's a combination of the two after they end up seeing it. Hibiki's like, what the hell is that thing?
It's a chimera.
Yeah, and that's really the only way that
Ed.
This is the first time that they can end up fighting together. You end up seeing all three of them fight together for the first time. Love this scene, by the way, because it's just, as I said, you're not getting to see all three.
Also, I had a thought just occur. Do we have any other Kamen Rider shows where we will see the actor wear the suit except the helmet?
I cannot think of a single one.
Me either.
I can think of it in Sentai a lot.
Yeah, it happens in Sentai all the time, but Kamen Rider, no.
Yeah, it doesn't really happen that often.
So that's another thing that made this different. Just gonna throw that out there.
Now, in episode 23, we end up getting to the summer training portion because the Oni in the summer are different from the Oni basically any other type of time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that, Marcus?
Those ones can multiply, and they're about like human sized.
Giggity.
And they're bullshit
Giggity.
in some cases. But because of this, we do end up getting Hibiki's first upgrade in his Kurenai form, which is basically just a red and silver version of his regular suit.
I like it.
Still looks cool.
It looks really good.
I like it.
I
He
love
loves
this
red,
suit.
so of course you like it.
Shut up.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just
But yeah, I'm not wearing any red today. So
But this is also the one where
it's your favorite color, though.
it's still biased, yeah.
There's a scene
I'm
where...
not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying you like red.
Yeah. Right before this ends up
the
happening, we end up seeing Todoroki like actually going out and fighting with the drumsticks. And I like the scene because he's like, I'm a guitar user, why am I doing this? Hibiki's like, one, you can't beat the Summer Oni Summer Rakamo with a guitar. You had to beat them with the drums, otherwise they end up like breaking off and multiplying from each other. And that happens quite a bit in this show. And then in episode 25, we end up getting to meet a past apprentice whose parents basically did not want him to fight anymore because, you're fighting. People have died. That's happened a couple, like the previous Zaki, who they end up mentioning, has died prior to this show end up starting. And I like the fact that, one, this guy isn't, antagonistic towards Asumu when they finally end up meeting. Originally, they ended up meeting like at a water park, and he ends up thinking that Hidomi's his girlfriend, and just like, no, we're not like that, and everything. Just like, all right, good. And it's great. There's also this one scene in episode 26 where it's like Hibiki and Asumu like sitting on the side of a hill. Asumu has a whole bunch of pillows in front of him, and like he's playing them because he really wants to be in a brass band at Jonan, his high school. And then it actually starts sounding like drums, and Hibiki just looks at it and they start singing that song, Da, 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 da. I love it. Like I said, this show does sound just so perfectly. And this is also the episode where Ibuki ends up meeting a strange, like he and Kasumi want to go on another date where he can't pick a shirt, and Ibuki ends up meeting like he sees a strange couple that are dressed in a kimono in the middle of the city. This is the man and woman who basically all the doji and the hime and the puppets, because we end up getting to meet the white puppet by this point, who does the summer doji. The summer makamo. And he, when he ends up going to try to meet them, he just gets, overwhelmed by, everything. He just can't deal, so he just ends up almost dying. And it's such a good episode, though. One, we end up getting to meet sort of, the main villains of this show. And two, it's just good to see, once again, Hibiki and Asumu bonding. Episode 27, we end up getting to see Zanki really fight for one of the last times prior to the worst part of the show. And he ends up getting overwhelmed by basically what is a super puppet, a super black puppet. And he's just like, I can't do anything anymore because my knee just literally almost gave out during the middle of this. Tsutomu, who is the guy who was the previous apprentice, one of the previous apprentices, just like, as Asumu was like, what do you want to do? And Asumu was like, I really don't want to become an Oni, I just want to end up helping out. I will mention something in a second that is going to end up pissing off me.
And probably everyone else.
Yeah. Now, in the next episode, Asumu ends up running into that shoplifter again. He ends up getting beaten up by him, and then Hibiki ends up taking him off into the woods to, really just figure out and help him, get cheered back up. We end up getting to meet another Oni, Eiki. There's also another one earlier who we saw. Donkey is the name of the rider. Yeah.
Eiki and Shoki?
Yeah. We have met Shoki, and at this point we also met Donkey, who was really the only one of the other ones that we ended up getting to see the face of.
Yes.
And it's such a great set of episodes just because they end up getting to really build. Speaking of which, we haven't really talked about anybody else's suit, but I do want to talk about Eiki's for a second. I love the ear things he has on the back. I think they just look like his suit is sort of bronze and teal, or at least a light blue. It just looks good. I like the way the suit looks, and that's mostly just because of the things on the back of his head. It just brings.
They kind of look like Batman's ears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Justice League joke. But yeah, it just looks good.
that they're not gonna get.
Now,
Sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip of my coffee before we start this.
Well, that's more of a reference than a joke.
Yeah, but
Also, Batman existed prior to the movie. How's the coffee?
Not full of bullshit like the second half of this motherfucking show.
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
am so done with this show to this point. Jacob, let's go ahead and talk about exactly what happened behind the scenes.
Please do, let's. Okay, so after episode 29, we have the movie, which we will talk about in our next review. That goes into production. Kamen Rider Hibiki and the Seven War Demons. Now, one thing that Toku almost never ever does is replace its showrunner. The primary producer on the show.
And the writer.
Well, there were
They do both.
two writers in this case. But beginning with episode 30, the showrunner is replaced, and the two head writers are replaced.
why is that, Jacob?
We do not know.
It
Shit,
could
we
be.
don't know.
Now, there is
nothing concrete. We know the reason why one thing was changed. And let's see, here it is. The fire breathing, the Oni Bee, the Oni claws, those abilities were completely removed, along with Ibuki opening his mouth for his attack. The Makamo, with their mouths open wide who spurted liquids, were also removed, and there had been complaints about these sequences from parent advocacy groups who claimed they scared children.
Now, before we get any further,
That's the only thing that we know of.
There's one last thing we had to talk about before we really start to get into the rant portion. Hibiki's final form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Armored.
I thought it was armed.
I like it.
I thought it was armed.
Armed? Yeah, I think it is actually Hibiki armed.
Okay. I love the suit.
I like it.
It's basically...
And it's not just because it's red. It just looks great.
It's
a good
basically
suit.
just like a...
Armored.
Armored Kurenai form.
Which is not bad. It adds gold and black, which
And
contrast each other
makes
very well.
The crest bigger.
It gives him holsters on his back for his batons, or drumsticks, whatever you want to call them.
And it gives him a sword.
Dagger thing.
Yeah.
It's really small.
Yeah. There's a lot of damage, though.
It's not about size.
It's about the bullshit that happens after this.
Right.
After episode 30, Asumu's opening narration, which I love.
It's gone.
These
are all the changes that happen.
The opening
afterwards.
is changed.
The opening
after episode 34, we get a new opening.
I don't mind that second opening, but it's not the first.
I think it's terrible. I do not like this new one at all.
I don't really like it that much
The
either.
kanji flashing on screen is gone.
Gone.
The ending sequence, which I actually really
We
like.
didn't talk about the ending. This is one of the few shows that
It's
have
one of
an
the
ending.
only Kamen Rider that has an ending.
That ending is great.
It's great. It's
It's
the back shot of Hibiki walking through an environment. He sees all his friends, and then at the end he turns to the camera and he does his salute. And it's wonderful.
And the song is just like, it's about this kid growing.
Yeah.
And that's what this show is.
If I could compare it to anything, it would be the Jetman ending.
Yeah.
It's like that calming ending that was working. And then they completely get rid of that. We had two new characters.
We will talk about Kiri in a fucking second.
Two characters who originally were going to be main characters. They are completely gone.
Aki and Shoki are gone.
They are gone. And then a lot of the CGI is cut down. You know,
They end up moving into the city.
We've been gushing about how wonderful it is that everything takes place in the forest. Most likely due to production costs, which is understandable, but still, they completely cut the forest out. Every single fight from now on takes place in the same boring city
Kamen Rider
environments
location.
that we have seen 100,000. Like, the first fight in the city, it's at night by that same friggin' staircase that we've seen in, like, every single show.
And you know what exactly when the bullshit started to happen? Because you saw the monster come into the city.
Yeah.
And that was when I was just like, oh my fucking God.
Mm-hmm.
I am so done.
I remember this in college. You started realizing they're going to this city a lot more. That's weird, but okay. And then there was this one particular episode.
It was when Todoroki was like actually doing this thing and then the string broke.
The guitar string breaks.
And I never thought I'd watch a piece of you die inside physically, and I actually witnessed that. You paused and went off. I think we had to replace a wall in the apartment that day.
Mm.
But I don't know if they're going to point this out in the comments. I'm shaking. I haven't said a word. I'm just shaking.
It's like the anger that you end up getting.
Yeah.
Because Hibiki
The show's main star, Shigeki Hosokawa, he hated these new changes.
The main villain who ends up playing the Doji hated it.
Yeah, I cannot forgive them. I want to continue his idea. Those are his exact words.
And his idea, he ends up meaning
the last
showrunner.
18 episodes of this show.
The final episode was rewritten on the day of shooting. They had already filmed the finale. We don't know what it was going to be.
Why did you tell me
Asumu just randomly ends up becoming Hibiki's apprentice.
Yeah.
The
ending was rewritten and reshot on the day of filming.
Asumu was going to become an Oni, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And they gave parts of his suit to Kiryu to make his suit look better.
Yep.
And it was just like, it wouldn't have been so bad, but it's just like, if we would have saw what would have happened with the original showrunner's idea going all the way through, I can defend that this show literally would have been my favorite Kamen Rider, hands down. Because it was on its way to becoming that for the first 29 episodes. And then it's just like...
I'm waiting for my turn.
I became so disillusioned and angry. When this happened, the Japanese public was angry at Toei for doing this. It's just like, how dare you end up doing something like this to a show that was just so different? You made it so plain and basic and bullshit. And I'm so just angry at what could have been. Matt, go ahead.
The last 18 episodes of this show are not only an insult to the show that they set up before, it is a middle finger to the man who worked hard to write this story. And as somebody who has, like Jacob and I, has studied acting and know what it's like to make sure that the author's intentions and visions are put on stage and are seen by the public as they intended, this physically hurts me to watch.
It's so... just...
And you want to know what Toei has said regarding this matter?
They spit
nothing.
They have spit in this man's
They
face.
have never issued an official statement regarding why this change happened.
Because they want to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it.
Well,
it just hurts.
I have no words.
No, you said some words.
I don't have any words left.
It just hurts. This show...
It's not even worth the energy to yell.
No, it's really,
not.
It's just the fact that what could have been.
Because one of my biggest pet peeves is unnecessary censoring, and I don't mean in a comedic sense, with the videos you see on YouTube. I mean people like the parental groups who are complaining that it's scaring their children. Bullshit.
Did they see Ryuki?
Seriously!
Did you see Ryuki?
There it is.
Where people are just violently murdered all the damn time? This is what drove it?
No, because the mothers weren't watching the show back then because there was no hot guy in his 30s to stare at.
That's really the reason why they ended up coming to this show in the first place, because of the main character. This show could have been so good. And then, let's talk about Kiryu for a quick second.
Let's do it.
I fucking hate him.
Sorry the way you said that.
His point is pointless.
Mm-hmm.
He is annoying.
He is a circle. No points.
He is annoying. He is overly competitive. He is just the worst thing that this show has done. And the fact that they brought this guy back 2 years later to actually go ahead and play the
Where's your vodka? Where's your vodka?
It's gone. I already drank it.
Damn
it. But this guy went on to play Xeranos.
Oh, really?
He's a much better character in that show. Well, people hated his character.
That's not the actor's fault, of course, but
it's legitimately everything else that was happening. And it's just...
The biggest problem, the only problem with Hibiki
also,
is Toei.
There's a female Oni that ends up getting introduced. It was the Master of Zonki. Guess what happens there?
Gee, I wonder.
She died. Although she was a bit of a... I don't say this word often, but for her, it's applicable. A cunt.
Damn. He does not actually. Wow. He never says that.
She was awful.
I don't know. Do we have to censor that?
No.
Okay.
She almost got Amami killed. Almost got Zonki killed. She almost got a lot of people killed just off of her vendetta.
Bit of a bastard.
Yeah. Oh my!
I am a firm believer in judging art by what it is, not by what you wanted it to be. Judging this show by what it is, what it became,
isn't it?
It's so disjointed. It's such a radical departure from what it had taken so long setting up, and the fact that it just gets flipped on its head so far, goes off the rails, into the canyon, explodes, catches on fire, gets dissolved in acid, and then someone pisses on it. Eesh.
It's like they had like a constant build of power from the beginning because we ended up having like those armored Himi and Dojis that could take up that form for a little bit, and then that went away. And then they had the ones that could stay that way throughout the entire time.
Yep.
Then we end up getting the puppets and things like that and how strong they are, and they end up having to be beaten later. And then we end up getting the Super Hime and Doji. They get rid of the original Hime and Dojis. They don't show up anymore. Mm-hmm. They're just not there. And then it doesn't really end up feeling like there's much of a point to the actual villains themselves at the end of this show. Because we end up finding out that the man and the woman aren't the real man and the woman. There are the real man and the woman that end up showing up at the very end. They come out of nowhere.
You're not the real man and the woman, you're the other man and the woman.
Basically.
It was the real man and the woman who were the real man and the woman the entire time.
Because of the way that they just end up changing the show, it feels like the villains don't have much of a point.
No.
Which is, it's fine at the beginning because it's not on them. It's on the characters and their growth throughout the beginning of the show.
Right.
But then it's like they just don't get...
Eventually you have to build to something.
Yeah. And, there's that whole thing where they end up teaming up for... the man and the woman end up making a deal with the Oni for Orochi, which is, the last thing. And then this show just...
Because it's always Orochi, isn't it?
Yeah. It doesn't feel like the show actually ended.
No, it just sort of stops.
Yeah, it just
imagine you're on a roller coaster. It's going great. You're having a great time.
Like the roller coaster that he's on at the beginning of this show, and then it just ends. And look at him.
It's not just that the roller coaster ends. The roller coaster just stops. They make you get off, and then they project a bad movie on the side of the tracks, and they just make you watch that for 30 minutes, and then you just leave.
This show was great. It was on its way to become my favorite Kamen Rider, and then. Fuckery.
And then, what he said.
It's just disappointing. That's the thing that ends up ruining this show for me. It got disappointing. And that actually ends up making it worse than if it was just bad all the way through. It's just completely and utterly a disappointment at the end of the day.
Yep.
And that is what makes this show hurt that much more, coming back into it.
Okay.
Are you?
No.
Okay. Let's talk about the characters. Hibiki.
He's great.
We're gonna actually split this up from up until episode. Everything after episode 30, we're not gonna talk about.
Remember, if we say something positive, fill in the blank.
Hibiki is a great character.
Yes.
He is, that father figure that Asumu really, really needed, and I think that just ends up.
He's one of the most mature writers we've ever had.
Which I think his age had a lot to do with it.
His age has a lot to do with it, but his personality as well.
I mean, I'm talking about the age of the character.
I know what you meant.
So, which is why I feel like we need another one like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I'll admit, build, not terrible.
Yeah.
He's great. But I feel like we need another Kamen Rider
that is mature.
It's kind of like... if you'll pardon the reference, it's kind of like Doctor Who, where they just kept getting younger and younger and younger.
And then Capaldi came around and, turned that on its head, and thank God.
I have something to talk about you about that after.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about. We'll move on.
But Hibiki is... Oh, we didn't talk about his bike. Gaika. His bike is an actual thing. It's not a custom one.
It's a chopper.
It was a limited edition bike, but it's not a custom... It's not just...
Custom for the show.
Yeah. I like that bike a lot. Gaika's great. And we did talk about that topic.
It's a pretty awesome
bikes. I love that bike. Asumu.
I like him a lot too.
He's great. He's the one that you're supposed to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really ends up... Yeah.
Fill in the blank.
He's the one that you're supposed to follow. And Asumu, seeing his growth up to that point, it's so good to see him really coming to his own, not just, as a person, but as a man, as, someone who really wants to end up following his own path. After episode 30, though.
We don't talk about it! Moving on!
It's something that we have to do, because in this case, there were two endings. Originally, he was supposed to become an Oni.
He was going to become an Oni.
And then they decided, literally at the last second, to not have him become an Oni and become a doctor.
Because Japan doesn't have enough of those.
Ibuki. It's okay. It's not okay.
No, it's not.
Ibuki, though. I like Ibuki. Ibuki was sort of like the sort of calm one throughout most of the show, but he really cared about the people around him, especially Kasumi. And, of course, his apprentice, Amami, and all of that. I loved his character. He was just a lot of fun when he ended up coming up on screen. Of course, there were a lot of other people that ended up coming on, too. But I liked Ibuki as the secondary writer of the show. Really wish he would have got an upgrade for him. I think that's the one thing that is missing. But
I feel like any of the other writers getting an upgrade for him would be appreciated.
But just because of the sheer amount of writers that they had in this show,
it makes sense to me.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Todoroki. Todoroki's sort of like that shonen protagonist. Like, Asumu sort of like the seinen one. Todoroki's the shonen.
That's a good comparison.
That is a very good comparison.
Because he's like, very excitable. He has to purify
that guitar solo in the end, at the end of the episode where he gets, when the torch is passed to him and he officially becomes Kamen Rider Todoroki. All you have to do is draw that in cell form. It's a scene straight out of an anime.
Yeah. Yep. It's basically like the reason, he has an actual reason why he does that though. He's like, I do it to purify the area because I don't want any more Malcolm coming around this area. It's like, okay, I get that.
All right.
I understand it. It works for your character. It's
Motivation makes sense. Boom, let's go. We're off to the races.
Yeah. Todoroki's a pretty great character. He's pretty excitable, but you understand, he's sort of young and he has, really a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that ends up working a lot for him. Zanki. Loved him as a mentor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was great. He dies.
Sad.
Because bullshit. Yeah, Todoroki.
Please see the last 15 minutes of the rant that we just did.
Todoroki's having him as Todoroki's mentor just really ends up helping because, as I said, he retires as an Oni more or less, and then he ends up coming back to become like Todoroki's helper out in the field, like the way that Midori and Kasumi and Hinaka would end up going out for the others.
Mm-hmm.
Like it really ends up doing something because his master is still there, but his master lets him go on and do his own thing. And that's great. I love their relationship. He also ends up going on to play the wolf in Kiba.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does.
Oh, yeah. I love this guy.
And then he's in the live-action Rurouni Kenshin movies.
Yes, he is.
It's the first one, at least.
He's the main villain from the first movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's right.
He's great.
He is so great.
He's just great. Every time you see him on screen, you're like, I get it.
There's a lot of Kamen Rider actors in the first Kenshin movie.
Well,
also, the guy who ends up...
They're Japanese actors.
So. The guy who ends up playing the Doji is Rook in Kiba, one of the main villains in that. Mm-hmm. And he also plays the villain in Wizard when Wizard first goes Infinity.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's good to, once again, as you said, we love when actors come back.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh.
And especially in Zangi's case, because he ends up playing a major character in 2 shows. And he plays a different writer in the movie, the Hibiki movie.
Yeah.
He plays Toki.
Mm-hmm. Toki.
Now, the Tachibanas are great. I only am mentioning them because of the fact that the actress who played Hinaka did die back in 2008. She was 24.
Damn.
Oh,
Yeah, heart failure. It just happened.
it's terrible.
And, I really wish they would have done more with Shoki and Donkey and
but there were so many characters. Some of them had to take a back burner.
No, it's just because of the fact that Aki and Shoki just were completely written out of the fucking show. But that's not me. Hibiki is a show that could have been so much more. It could have been great.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Fuck you, Toei.
It just could have been an awesome show. Like, it was on its way. Like, you understand why I like the first 29 episodes.
Oh, no, I do.
Yeah.
I always did.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things why I didn't want to watch it in college, because you binged the hell out of it and got to the bad part, and I didn't want to subject myself to that, to fall in love with the show and then have to hate it.
And it happened.
And you did it again.
I knew what I was going into, and it happened again.
Was it just as bad?
Yes! It was actually worse this time because it was still coming, and I was like... and that just happened, and I was so upset. It happened again, and I got lulled into a false sense of security. I was like, maybe it'll be better this time, as I was holding myself in my blanket, rocking back and forth. It did not work. I was still so upset at this show.
Yep.
It had so much going for it. And then Toei came in and was just like, no. That's the thing that ends up hurting me the most about this show. That's why I wasn't excited going into this All the Deca Ranger month. Going into a show that I love so much, and into a show that I love so much, and then
don't love so much.
Yeah. It hurt.
But
At the end of the day, it hurt me.
but next time we're gonna get I would say a mid-tier in terms of how we feel about it, just to kind of calm ourselves down.
We'll see. Because next time we're doing Ultraman Ginga.
Ginga S.
Ginga S.
And Victory. We decided to do those three together because the show was short.
Yes.
The next time I'm in a review.
We're doing Magi Ranger.
Magi Ranger.
Yep. Majiro.
I'm actually excited to see that one again. It's been a long time.
It has been a long time.
And I don't have any bad things to say about the show, but I'm very excited
you had some bad things to say
you
about
have
Pink.
Yellow.
Yellow's acting. Which got better in Go Busters.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm very excited to see Ginga S. I've only seen the first episode of Ginga, and I love his suit. So
It's in my Crunchyroll queue. I haven't started watching it yet. But...
yeah, I'll probably start that this week and probably finish it next weekend. Speaking of which, for those of us in the U.S., Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
As the time we are recording this, it is the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So the next time we will be recording will be after Thanksgiving. So we just want to wish everybody that.
Mm-hmm.
If you celebrate it.
You know, if you're in Canada, your Thanksgiving was last month, so oops.
Oops.
But yeah, tell us what you think about Hibiki in the comments below.
Tell us if you were just as disappointed as we were.
Would you recommend the show?
I would recommend
up until episode 30.
Yeah, until episode 30, and then just stop watching. I tell that to everybody who's about to watch this show. Watch it up to episode 29 and then never watch it again.
But as always,
the show is absolutely worth checking out. There's no other
please
show.
like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us if you haven't. So we can
support us on Patreon.
Which, to the people who have been, we absolutely adore you. We will have a video for you up probably within the next couple days. Marcus just needs to edit it.
Yeah.
And
I'm infinitely sad still.
And for those who have already gone and subscribed to our sister channel, Nerd in Denial, thank you so much. We will have a video up for you also within the next couple days. We recorded it, and now we have to re-record it for technical difficulties because new camera is still working out the kinks. But we really do appreciate all of your support. As always, thank you everybody so much. We will see you guys.
I'm going to go cry.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.